The $10,000 buy-in World Championship Heads Up No Limit Hold'em tournament took place earlier this week at the Rio. The event was capped at 256 players and 64 of them finished in the money. That means to get some of their cash back, the players had to win at least 2 matches. The tournament came down to a best out of 3 heads-up battle between Alec Torelli and Kenny Tran. Unfortunately for Alec Torelli, it only took 2 matches for Kenny Tran to win his first bracelet. After the tournament concluded, I spoke to Alec Torelli.
So what was going through your mind when you found out you'd be facing Kenny Tran in the finals?
I mean, I kind of had a feeling that would happen. I thought, not like a sure thing I would beat Vanessa, but I thought if I beat Vanessa, I had a feeling I was going to face Kenny. It's kind of like one of those things where I had a feeling it was going to happen because we played a lot at Commerce together, and we were kind of like...
So you're familiar with Kenny?
Yeah, and he's like kind of the big live pro, and I'm the young online kid, and we played at Commerce together, and he kind of... they didn't like dislike each other, but we just kind of went at it against each other, you know? Yeah, so we just would go at it against each other, play big pots, and kind of like ego against each other a little bit. So when it got to heads up between us, I was just like, oh, this figures, right? And I mean, he turned out to be a really cool guy. I mean, we kind of only had a short term together at Commerce, and we kind of had the wrong idea about each other, but I ended up liking the guy. He's really cool. So.
Well, that's cool. So you actually had the chip lead in the first match at the beginning, right?
Yeah, I think for a little bit I did. I was like 3-2, and then he was 3-2, and then I think the second match I had the chip lead more of the match. The first match, looking back, I really didn't like how I played the first match. I told him that.
It seemed like small ball poker.
And that's not the best way to play against Kenny because he's just going to run me over in that aspect. So I knew I was playing bad after the match. Like I said, I looked back at the stats, and he won like over 65% of the pots, which is terrible in heads up, especially for my style. I shouldn't be letting him do that.
And then the last hand of that match, you actually had the best hand pre-flop with the ace-jack going in. What do you think of Kenny's call with the ace-4?
I mean, it's marginal, to say the least. I think he knows that, too. I mean, he played great the whole time.
Yeah, he was willing to take it. The blinds are getting up at that point?
Yeah, I mean, I'll say that was his biggest mistake of the match. He played really solid other than that, and that was pretty marginal spot. It was unfortunate I got unlucky. I mean, if the flop came like 9-5-6, he was just going to fold.
Right.
And I'm going to shove any flop, and of course, if an ace comes, he's going to lose all his money too. It's just it's a bad spot with ace-4, and that's poker. Sometimes you get unlucky and can't win them all.
It's true.
Yeah.
So the second match, you did have a nice chip lead for much of that.
Yeah,
Tell me about it.
I played a lot better the second match. I think he was getting.
What changes did you make?
Well, I saw after the first match, I talked to a lot of my friends who I really respect a lot, and they were watching and have an unbiased point of view at the game, so they could really analyze what was happening. And I talked to them, and they gave me a lot of pointers. And basically, one of them told me he won 68% of the pots, and I just realized
that just cut to the
exactly
bone.
That just said it all about the match. I was just playing too passively, and I just decided to open every single button and raise, and then bet every flop and apply pressure on him. And I check raised him a few times on bluffs. I think that 5s hand, I had the second match where I made a big bluff on the river.
You picked off some bluffs also.
I picked off some bluffs.
The one hand you called and he mucked.
Yeah, I just decided I wasn't going to let him run me over this match, and if I'm going to lose, I'm going to lose. But I'm going to put up a fight, and I'm going to make him win it. And it worked out really well for me. I had a good chip lead going. I felt like I was dominating the match.
You're getting paid off in your good hands.
Yeah,
the 10's full.
Things were going right for me. Yeah, and he was kind of confused. He was getting frustrated a few of the pots. And then the final hand came up, and I'd get it in with his hand too. I mean, he had a huge hand, I had a huge hand, and that's poker.
So you think you think if the hands were reversed on the last hand, it would have played out kind of the same way?
I would have played his hand the same way. I don't know if he would have played mine the same way. I think he might have just check called me.
Because you got your money in good. You had a pair of 10s on the flop, right? Queen 10?
Not a pair of queens, but
pair of queens. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
And he had a flush draw.
Yeah.
All right.
I don't know if he would have check raised me and got it in. But once I check raised him, I decided if he shoves it in or re-raises me, I'm going with my hand. I kind of made up my mind on the flop. If I check raise here, I'm going to get it all in no matter what.
Right.
I wasn't happy when he got it in against me, but I made my decision on the flop that I was just too short. And like I said, I got to apply pressure. I got to put moves on him. I've been raising him a lot, and I was hoping he'd get it in with a worse hand, maybe a draw like he had. I was hoping he didn't have an ace-high flush draw because his ace is live too. I was hoping maybe he had 9-10 of clubs or like a smaller flush draw and just trying to bluff me off it. But he had a bigger hand, and that's that.
This tournament victory was Kenny Tran's 12th World Series of Poker cash. Many of you will remember that last year he came in 5th in the $50,000 buy-in horse event, and he followed that up with a 16th place finish in the $10,000 main event. For taking down the World Championship Heads-Up No Limit event, Kenny Tran pocketed $539,000. I spoke to Kenny after his victory. Kenny, congratulations. You took down the Heads-Up tournament at the World Series.
Thank you. Thank you.
So going into this going into the World Series this year, you must have thought you would do really well in the Heads-Up tournament just because of your style of play. Is that true?
No, not really. Actually I didn't prepare to play many tournaments this year, but then like very last second, the day before the event started, and I just decided, okay, you know what, I just go have a try and play, because I basically my game like a full game, but you know I didn't play much of like shorthand or Heads-Up.
Really?
You know, I figure I can manage to play well even though it's like shorthanded game. Yeah.
Did you try and make any changes to your game before the tournament, knowing that you would be heads up instead of in a full ring?
Well, I know it's one thing that's, I mean, in that event, be a lot of young gun online players. I mean,
Very true.
They play a lot online, mostly the heads up, and I mean, I do have a strategy going to the tournament. Yeah.
What was it?
Well, because I know, so, I mean, the online player, they like to play fast, you know, and that's how they play it. And I mean, to me, I mean, in order to get into the head, I just have to play slow and try to grind them out, and
make them get bored,
and then get bored, and then they will make the mistake eventually. Yeah.
So you beat 8 people heads up in order to win the tournament. Who do you think was your toughest opponent? I know you played Eric Lindgren along the way. He just won a bracelet. You played a lot of good players. Who was the toughest
match? They are good. I mean,
big buy-in tournament like
big
this.
Buy-in, and I mean they are good player. But I have to say, I mean, Eric probably one of the tough one, and then like Alex, the guy I beat in the last match, he really good, and so is Brandon Adams. I mean, they are good, but still you still need to catch some break here and there.
Well, in the first match you played against Alec Torelli, it seemed like you guys were both trying to keep the pots pretty small. Why do you think that was?
Well, so I just want to keep some pots small, try to figure out his styles and where he at, and I can see that, and then I know that, I mean, he's kind of got it off and impatient when like 1 hour after the match. So I know right there, and I can run over him. Yeah.
So what else did you pick up on Alec's game?
Well, I didn't pick up much from him, but I can see that he tend to make a lot of mistakes because his decision kind of fast. He make fast decision. He didn't like. He always think like maybe it's only one way to play the hand, but he didn't know.
He doesn't think about the
other
things.
He didn't think the other round. Yeah.
Well, on the last hand of the first match, I think you made a raise with ace-4. He re-raised with ace-jack. You flopped a pair of 4s. How did you make that call? Were you pretty certain you were good?
Well, no, it's not that. Well, I got him down to pretty good in the chip count.
Where it made sense to call
and then
mathematically.
Heads up, and then I can see he live his team. Well, and then so I looked down. I only see one card, and then I raised him, and then he re-raised. Looked down, I have ace-4. So anyway, I decided, I could just close him out right here if I flop anything, and it looked like that. He couldn't take it no more. He liked to gamble, and plus like I raised several hands before that hand. So I say, well, he could re-raise me with any 2 card, and his ball language, a little steamy, but I was wrong. Yeah. He had a decent hand, but I already decided it doesn't matter what happened. It's anything I hit, anything close. Even like deuce straight rack on the board or something, I have straight as to just ship it in. It's possible my ace high could be good, but turned out that he had a better hand than me, and I hit a pair 4 on a flop. So
that works though.
Yeah, it's worked for me.
So it seems like Alec's attitude changed a little bit in the second match. Was he a little bit tougher for you to handle in the second match?
He played much better.
He had the chip lead at first, right?
He did. He played much better in the second half. I think, after I beat him the first match, him and his friend gathered together, and then they might have some kind of meeting and have some kind of strategy to play with me.
Yeah, they told him you'd won a large percentage of the hands. He wasn't happy.
Yeah, and then, he probably got advice from his friend that he cannot let me just bleed him to death, that's how I play on the first match. I just bleed him slowly.
That's what it looked like,
slowly,
absolutely.
And then,
no big hands.
And then he played back a lot on the second match, and but I figure still, I mean, doesn't matter. He just he started to play my game. I didn't play his game.
And that's what you were aiming to do.
Yeah, that was I was aiming to do, and then he adjusted for a while, for a little bit. But
did you switch anything up, knowing that he'd switched some things up?
Yeah, after I realized he switches, so I decided to play a little bit faster than him. So I can be ahead, be more aggressive, and you can see on the second match we raised before the flop a lot, on the pre-flop a lot.
Yeah, definitely. It seemed like a much more aggressive match in general. And then the last hand, you had the flush draw and you got there. I mean, I think that's a fairly standard play in that spot. But what was going through your mind?
Well, it's going through my mind that I was one match ahead, and the chip count doesn't matter. I only
you could gamble that.
Yeah, it's only a little bit chip count was ahead. But I decided, you know what, right here and then. I mean, the only hand could be in really big trouble if he have like a set. Very unlikely that he had a set, because the way the hand played out, he played kind of fast. So it means he in the position, and I think if he flopped a set, he probably try to trap me. But then he played like that. But then I said, I could be wrong, but still, I mean, I had enough flush draw.
It made sense, yeah, and you had another match to recover in case you didn't hit.
Exactly. So,
but it worked.
So I decided to gamble, and I got lucky.
Makes sense. Well, again, congratulations, and I was glad to talk to you about it.
Thank you for having me. Thanks.
Congratulations to Kenny Tran. We hope you check back soon for more interviews with top pros. I'm Lizzie Harrison for Card Player TV.